Hello, my name's Sarah. I'm doing this as a video response to Sean Station's video, Morality versus Atheism, where he attempts to say that atheists don't have morals, and of course talk about why Christians are more moral than the rest of us. So I'm just going to play his video and respond when I feel the need to. So just, to keep everything in context.
If you're an atheist or someone who doesn't believe in God, what's keeping your morals in check? For instance, if you don't go by God, you don't go by the Bible, you're basically just going by the morals that are socially acceptable. And society changes that over time. Humans change it.
Okay. First off, this is the most common argument that I hear by Christians against atheists, that we don't have morals and that all morals are derived from the Bible, which is absolute garbage. If you guys had any understanding of science, any understanding of the evolutionary process, which I know most of you don't believe in because it contradicts your faith or whatever, but evolution, natural selection, natural order, natural laws, this is the shit that makes up what you call our morals. What it really is the human conscience. The human conscience is actually located in the frontal cortex right up here, and which is also the area where our reasoning capabilities come from. But I think that the main thing that you have to take into account, even though you guys don't believe in science or whatever, human beings live in social groups. We live in colonies, per se, the same way that birds live in colonies, the same way that lions live in prides. We have to, we're slaves to this social order, to this natural order of things. It is detrimental to an organism who lives in a social group to do things that are not good for the group. And oftentimes groups will ostracize those individuals the same way that we lock up criminals, the way that we lock up rapists, the way that we put serial killers to death, because they're a danger to society, because they're a danger to all of us. You don't have to have God to have morals. This is just a ridiculous idea. So if what you're saying is true, by your logic, anybody that's not a Christian, anybody who's never heard of God or heard the Ten Commandments, is not going to have any moral, a conscience. They wouldn't have morality or a way to determine what's moral without these Ten Commandments. So you're saying that Buddhists can't be moral. You're saying that in places where Christianity is not prevalent, the people are not going to be moral people, which is absolutely not true. Christianity was not brought to the Americas until, maybe like 500 years ago, when the Spanish came over and started, trying to convert all the natives in South America and Middle America. So what you're saying is that my people, that Native Americans, have no morals, that they had no morals until religion was brought here, until the missionaries came and started trying to convert them, which is not true, because they lived just fine for thousands of years before Christianity. And granted, they had their conflicts. They had the same kind of conflicts that the Western world was going through at the same time, too. There was wars, and there was disagreements, and these sorts of things, but they had no concept of your God. Yet they still taught morals to their children. They still had these fables that taught morals to their kids, and they didn't have to have God. They didn't have to have your Ten Commandments. And a great many societies have done just fine before Christianity came along. And maybe, at some time, Christianity was needed as a sort of law. Maybe it was kind of the first laws to keep people in order. But that doesn't mean that they're necessary forever. It doesn't mean that we can never advance beyond them. And
sexual perversion and all this kind of sexual deviancy has been pushed down our throats through the media, and anybody can tell. Humans do not have the capacity to create an unchanging moral standard without God?
That's fucking bullshit. That we don't have the capacity, that with our incredible ability to reason, that we can't figure out what's right or wrong. This goes back to what I was saying about natural order and how individuals function in social groups. Any social groups have to, and people are a social group. We're just like any other social group. We're just like an ant colony. We're just like a herd of animals where everybody has to do their part. Everybody has to look out for the rest of the group, and we have to do what's good for the group. It doesn't have anything to do with religion. It was around long before that because it's ingrained in our biology. It's a part of who we are. And with it comes empathy, and empathy is the ability to see other people and know that, hey, that other person is like me, that other person has feelings like I do, that other person experiences pain the way that I do. And that's all you need to have a conscience, is to see other people and realize that they have feelings the way that you do. If you can do that, if you can empathize with other people, you don't need a God to tell you, hey, do this or you're going to burn. People are not inherently evil, and I think that that's the kind of argument that you're trying to make, is that we're evil without God's laws, and that it took God's laws to keep people from raping and killing and doing all these sorts of things that still happen today, despite the fact that America is the majority of people in America are Christians. We're still the most violent country in the world, and I think that you can't sit there and say that having a Christian majority is going to make a more civilized society, because it's just not true. And
Now, some of you might be thinking, well, you don't need God to have morals. But think about this. If there was no God, if you didn't believe in God, then who owns you? Who are you accountable to? Couldn't you just do whatever you want as long as society were to allow it?
I guess, if that's the way that you see it, if society were to allow it, though, that's the thing, is we don't allow these things because they're detrimental to our species. It has nothing to do with fucking God, with us being afraid. You're assuming that everybody has these desires within them to kill people, that everybody has these desires within them to be out raping and pillaging and all this kind of shit that you talk about. I don't have that desire in me. I'm an atheist, and I've been an atheist my whole life, and I've never, ever, felt that I wanted to do any of these kinds of things that you're talking about. And you know what? I was not brought up in a Christian community. I was not brought up around Christianity in any way. It didn't influence me, yet through reason and through thinking and through being able to empathize with other people, that's where my morals come from.